present For the Record with Neil Heinen. You'll get the results of A Greater Madison Vision's Strategic Regional Growth Survey next on For the Record. Thanks for joining us. I'm Neil Heinen. This is the third of a series of For the Records following the Capital Area Regional Growth Commission's A Greater Madison Vision project, begun last September. Nearly 9,200 people took the 10-minute survey on priorities for growth and a population increase estimated at 150,000 people over the next 25 years. Here to talk about the survey results and next steps are A Greater Madison Vision Steering Committee members, Larry Palm, Susan Springman, and Bishop Harold Rayford. And I thought it would take me so long to identify all of you by all of your contributions over the years here that we'll just kind of let it come up as it comes up. But Bishop, you've been involved with the faith communities, African-American community for a long time. Sue, you've been in government, private sector. And Larry, I don't know what you've been doing. A little bit of elected office here and there. Right. Help us just go back. I referenced last September, that's when the survey started. Right. But remind us of the origins of this and the purpose of it.
So, I mean, we really were interested as the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission, CARPC, to reestablish a regional community land use plan, something that would guide communities, as you said, 150,000 people over the next many years, and really guide the communities as to what the best route of action to preserve the land, to save money on infrastructure, to continue to reduce our dependence on energy, to make communities that are meaningful and useful to residents and employees and employers, and to get a great quality of life out of them. So we, as a commission, first realized that the first step we needed to do was gather input from communities and people. And so that's why we really looked at Greater Madison Vision as an opportunity for us to ask those big questions, take it upon lots of people, 9,200 as you said, from all around, not just Madison and not just the communities nearby, but go throughout Dane County and then including the region beyond that, so that we can get a very complete picture of what people are interested in their community. And then from there, we hope to partner with other groups with these survey results, partner with these groups to make fruition and to let the public, as events like this, know more. And of course, people are. I'll just jump to the chase. People are more than willing to connect with other groups and communities, and to invite them to participate in the process.
This is an ongoing process.
And we'll do presentations. And there's our website. Our website has some great graphics about if I lived in this community and I had this demographics, what were the responses. We're really hoping that stakeholders and the community members will be able to use all this information to create better planning for their areas and for their communities.
I do think the three of you are reflective of the diversity on the steering committee. It was a big committee, 48 members, but it was really an exceptional committee, I thought, in terms of its breadth and the people who are on there, a lot of really familiar names. Talk about your role in that, Sue, from your perspective.
Well,
or multiple perspectives.
Right. I work in the private sector in the development world and have for a number of years for different companies, right now the Mullins Group, but I was a village trustee. I worked in the mayor's office, have a strong public sector bent. But planning and development has always been a large part of what I've done career-wise and even cared about personally, and I've lived here my whole life. So, and I've seen good development and I've seen bad development. We have a lot of good developers here, but as we see the population growth and the pressures of population growth on our communities, we really have to plan for it, and I do believe in planning. In Wanakee and Westport, they were one of the first communities to put together a joint plan.
Yep.
And Wanakee is more compact, more urban, if you can say Wanakee's urban. We don't want to see sprawl in it, but we're very good about preventing that. Westport wants to remain rural, and we made these agreements when nobody made those agreements. And I'm very proud of the fact that they did that, because it was kind of a template for the smart growth or comp plans that we all do as local government. But we have to work together as a region, because we connect in so many different ways.
How important is it for people in Madison to recognize that this vision needs to include Waunakee and Westport, and for the people in Waunakee and Westport to appreciate that what's the conversation in Madison is respectful of their interests there?
Exactly, because transportation in particular, you have so many commuters coming into Madison for jobs, and we even have commuters in Madison that go out to these outlying communities. So how we connect and where the housing is and where the services are, if it's not planned out and thought through, or at least it's in our consciousness that it's something we have to be thinking about, I don't want to say it could be disastrous, but it could be disastrous.
Well, yeah,
I mean, in the end, when you look at the number of new people, and we have a great community here. I mean, we take it for granted. You can go to other communities around the country and see good planning and bad planning and come back and, you know, see what we've done right and things we need to fix and how we're going to move forward. That's what this is all about.
Right.
Bishop, it's my impression that a lot of effort went into reaching into communities in the broadest sense of the word. But are you satisfied with the inclusiveness of the respondents, of the 9,200 people who responded?
I was very satisfied with the effort that went into making sure that every voice was heard. As a matter of fact, you know, when I was approached about being part of it, I felt that I had an obligation to represent not only the African American Council of Churches, but those African Americans and Hispanic and other families that are underrepresented in every aspect of being in Greater Madison. And so I was pleased that, you know, my voice was always heard, and I wanted to represent that voice. I wanted to be, you know, for the community. So when someone is talking about, you know, affordable housing as an issue, and we were having our meetings, and I'm raising my hand, I'm like, affordable for whom? Because affordable housing in Middleton is a different, we're having a different conversation in my church or in the African American churches when we talk about affordable housing or the need for affordable housing. And it was in our meetings, in our sessions, that I was able to raise that as an issue and keep it on the table so that it's not overlooked. And so there are some groups that are overrepresented in the survey, but the survey acknowledges that. And to me, that I thought was profound.
Yep.
That they recognize that this group was overrepresented and they're asterisks by it, and then they allowed, you know, me and other minorities that were part of the CARP-C to say this may not have been a major issue at, say, Epic, but it's a great issue at the Faith Place. Yep. It's a great issue at Mount Zion, at Fountain of Life, and other churches that are in our area. And that feedback was well received.
Yep. And am I right, when we talk about the effort, there were people going into every area that we can imagine and asking people to fill out these surveys.
Absolutely. Yeah. They were in our churches, they were in libraries, they were in malls. The effort was there to be as inclusive as possible where the input was concerned.
I mean, that's just so critical to the validity of the results and our faith in them going forward. How do we start? I mean, with the top priorities. I mean, I think there are 8 of them.
We have eight. Certainly, the key top key takeaway was about the environmental green infrastructure. That's, you know, green power, and so. Should
we even say that there were four kind of general areas, right?
So the top one was the green infrastructure.
No, but I mean the scenario, the broader scenarios.
You're saying about the scenarios.
Under which all these 8.
So maybe we should talk about what the survey was designed as. So there was 4 sort of conceptual scenarios that were created, and they were trying to be distinct. I mean, one frequent response was, I don't want to pick and choose. Well, somehow the survey is designed to sort of illuminate some of those distinctions between those scenarios. So there was an environmental scenario, there was a community scenario, there was sort of a lone wolf scenario, dystopian future, which for all intents and purposes was the least favored category. So it's clear to us from the responses in the survey from the community that people do not like not being in a community. They want to have a social structure. They want to be able to be a part of a fabric of churches and schools and libraries and resources. So
although the people, the 30% or whatever it was,
yeah,
that's still that's an important perspective.
People, yeah.
That we have to take into account.
And I think geographically it's interesting because it didn't, you know, sometimes you think to yourself, someone, you know, moved far away to just sort of be alone, but, you know, to be self-dependent. But then it really didn't show that in the survey. So it was clear that even if you know, were in smaller communities, you still wanted those communities.
Yes.
You still wanted to be connected to people.
Yep.
And people didn't want a future where they were telecommuting to work and just sitting in their home all day and then having, you know, delivery of food or something like that and never seeing anyone. They want human engagement.
Right.
Which is opposite of what you might think if you just read you know, about millennials, and it's not true. They want connectiveness.
Yeah.
Interesting, you mentioned millennials. One of the 8 was local agriculture and food, which was energy and food, which said was particularly important to young people. But environment was number 1.
Well,
and that includes water quality, climate change. You know, I think the flooding. We talked about the fact that the flooding had happened last year. Before we had the survey, and it may have informed some of those responses, but it certainly woke us all up.
All right, we're going to take a commercial break, and we're going to get back with some of the survey results of A Greater Madison Vision right after this.
For the Record, sponsored by MG&E, your community energy company.
Some see trails as only muddy paths, steep climbs, and rough terrain. But in the redesigned Jeep Cherokee, your trail can lead anywhere. See where your trail leads at the Jeep Celebration event.
Now, finance and get $4,500 total cash allowance on select 2019 Jeep Cherokee models and dealer stock.
Holding a phone takes precious attention away from the road. That's why handheld cell phone use is now illegal in Wisconsin work zones, and fines start at $40. Driving deserves your undivided attention. It's about safety for workers and for all motorists. So when you see orange cones, please put down the phone. The Wisconsin DOT urges you to eliminate distractions and be especially alert in work zones.
Out here, you need the power to control your environment, or it may control you. The power of the Kubota L2501DT. It comes with all the easy-to-use implements you need, and the kind of comfort that delivers a satisfied smile all day long. Get the L2501DT for as low as $139 a month with 0% APR financing for 84 months, plus a 6-year warranty.
Have always had the same exact taste. Until now.
McCafe Strawberry Banana Smoothie.
McCafe Caramel Frappe. A Coke?
Right now on the McDonald's $1, $2, $3 menu, get 2 classic cheeseburgers for just $2.
Finally, a value menu that values your choice.
I am back with Larry Palm and Sue Springman and Bishop Harold Rayford, who are all members of the steering committee of A Greater Madison Vision, which we've featured on this show before. It was a survey that 9,200 people took on scenarios for the growth in the region over the next 25 years, 150,000 people. So there was a summary of the findings. There were 8 priorities. Each one of them is interesting on their own, but the relationship between them, I think, is kind of interesting too. You said, Sue, that you weren't at all surprised that the environment finished number 1.
No, I think particularly this community's always been concerned about the environment. And we've got rural areas, we've got urban areas and growth. you know, there's pressure in small communities and people don't want growth. Unfortunately, growth is going to happen. And you mentioned the population growth. I think we have to emphasize it. 150,000 people potentially in the next couple decades.
Right.
And that's 2 Camp Randall football stadiums.
Yep.
Where are these people going to go? Can we even build housing fast enough? You know, I see some of the statistics that come out, Madison Gas and Electric has them, and I mean, I don't know if we can keep up with it. And where does it go?
Right.
And then how is it affordable?
And what does it affect?
And, right. I mean, these are such big issues, but also the services that people need and the resources they need to live and to thrive, all people in our communities. Now, how do you put them all together? It's like a Rubik Cube.
Yeah. How do you describe the survey findings, Bishop?
Well, for me, the survey findings show that there's a great divide in Madison. You know, there are 8 key findings. My number 1 was number 3. I can't get beyond transportation and housing. Just talked to a family, a man and his wife and 1 child are leaving Madison, African-American family. They're leaving Madison because they can't find housing. I mean, they can't find a place to live, so they're having to relocate. And so as I looked at the survey, I found myself asking myself the question like, the environment, you know, why is that important? Why is that an issue? And of course, you know, that was before the flooding. Oh, now I understand why that's an issue. And it helped me to really appreciate, you know, that there are, you know, hundreds of thousands of people that are coming, but also to make sure that we understand that there are people that can't afford to stay here. They can't afford to live here. They can't afford to work here. And I think that's a major concern that has to be built into every vision in every community, whether they are rural or whether they are a suburb or whether they're Madison. We have to make sure to be mindful of those that can't afford to pay, you know, $1,700 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment.
Is there any likelihood that some of the people answering that survey and putting the environment number 1 were defining the environment as housing and transportation? That in order to conserve resources, in order to be more environmentally sound, we need different transportation systems. We need housing that's closer to where we need to be, and that we could get at some of the issues through a number of different entry points.
And that's what I learned from the survey. I learned how important the environment is even to affordable housing and transportation. So they may not have intentionally been, you know, thinking along those lines, but they are interconnected, because if we don't have a good, healthy environment, then it will eventually affect the entire community.
And a good community's got to really have all 8.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't say, oh, we just knocked off the top 1 and we're done. Right. And so there is an interdependency. There is an interplay between all of those outcomes that really make a stronger community. So you can't have a wet, cheap place to live. You can't have a cheap place that you can't get to. You can't have these communities that are so desperate from each other, discrete from each other, that you don't have any interactions. I mean, you have to build them all together, and that's what our next steps is to support these communities that want to build these places that this stuff comes together in a meaningful way.
Well, because you still have to make some decisions.
Right.
I mean, you want all 8. But if you're going to focus on community or innovation or self-reliance or conservation, I mean, I don't know that you can focus on all 4 of those. I mean, you've got to make some decisions on what this community is going to look like.
When you say they, too, that's the
who's they?
$100 question here, because we all have these local governments who do their own plans, and the idea of this whole effort is to try to get people thinking collectively about all of these issues together and how we relate to each other and how we make it all happen together. You can't just be over in one community and worry about yourself, because what you do impacts the community next to you. And that's going to be the key. It's going to be persuasion and making presentations and keeping this top of mind consciousness of this and past our group.
All right,
that's
so
going to be the challenge.
When we come back, we're going to talk about how you're going to do that and what next steps are right after this.
Update your floors with Empire Today's $50 room sale. Buy one room, get floors for all other rooms for just $50 each. So when you buy one room, it's only $50 for laminate in the kitchen, $50 for carpet in the bedroom, and $50 for hardwood in the office. There's no limit. Buy one room, and it's $50 for floors in each additional room. Schedule now.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today, soldiers in the Army National Guard serve to give back to their country and communities. Their part-time commitment qualifies them for an array of benefits, such as affordable health and life insurance benefits, education benefits, including tuition assistance, student loan repayment, and GI Bill programs, a retirement plan based on part-time service, and VA home mortgages. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about all the benefits available in the Army National Guard.
I was confused with AT&T's different packages, DirecTV's contracts, and which internet speed was right for our devices. But I found my way out thanks to Spectrum. With Spectrum Internet, my family can connect and stream videos at the same time with no data caps.
Switch to Spectrum Internet for $44.99 a month for 12 months with internet starting speeds of 200 megabits. That's 2 times faster than AT&T. Call 1-855-588-5483.
Spectrum TV has our favorites like BET, Bravo, and ESPN.
Switch to Spectrum TV with over 125 channels, including free HD and on-demand for $44.99 a month. Call 1-855-588-5483.
Plus, with the Spectrum TV app, we can watch live TV on our mobile devices. So glad we switched.
How hard was it to switch?
One call, one bill. And the best part? No contract. Spectrum will even buy out your current contract up to $500.
I'll switch too.
Break free and switch to Spectrum Internet and TV for $44.99 a month each. Call 1-855-588-5483.
This morning we are revisiting A Greater Madison Vision. The survey results are in, and their findings are very interesting. So what do we do with these next? And one thing that just pops out at me is I mean, it was number 3 on the list, but the idea of equal opportunity, I think it covers all 8 of the issues. It has to cover all 8 of the issues. But it also is something that's being discussed, I think, in every governmental body, every business. You know, businesses and business organizations are talking about this. So isn't this an opportunity to frame these findings, as you said, Sue, you know, with different organizations, with different governmental bodies, in terms of how they can use this moving forward?
Absolutely. I think this discussion is ongoing for, I mean, it's never going to be over.
Right.
And everybody's got to be at the table. It's just critical.
Yeah.
And it has to be intentional. If we're going to really address the opportunity gaps that exist here in Greater Madison, it has to be intentional. And no one city can address it, and no one city or municipality can afford to ignore it, to say, well, we're not going to be concerned about the opportunity gap. We have a vision for our community, the future of our community, that is not diverse. So we only want people that make X amount of money or that can afford, you know, a $300,000 home. And I think it is important for every community to acknowledge and to look at the survey results and to look in the mirror and say, we need to do a better job to make sure that the future of our community matches the future of Madison, because as our area grows, the needs are going to grow as well.
So as Madison looks at Oscar Mayer, as Verona looks at the area around Epic, as Wanakee looks at available land there, don't you show them these findings and say, take these into account?
Well, this group came to the village board of Wanakee just last week and made a presentation, and they've been there once or twice before as well. And they're making a tour of all the communities and presenting these findings and having discussions still.
This has to be part of all the conversations, so it's a systemic, you know, infrastructure change. So every community has to have a growth plan, and what we want is communities to use these findings to support and enhance those growth plans and their regional planning to incorporate this stuff, and that includes number 3. That includes all of them. And other, you know, the communities will try and find their right balance for their community, but the the support that this provides, because it does allow us to say, in your community, this is also what your residents say. Yep. So you're not just saying this is, you know, downtown urban Madison, this is Wanakee, but this is your community, this is your group. And that was one of our efforts, to get such a broad distribution of information from people so that we can actually then relay it out. Yep. And so it's not just, you know, the 10% or the 1% or the bottom or whichever. It's everybody. Yep.
And I think anybody can grab this survey. Every person that lives in Greater Madison can grab this survey and find themselves in there. There's no one that can say, oh, they didn't think about us, or they didn't think about me. No, you're in there. You scroll down, you'll find one of these 8 priorities really hits home.
And as I said on our website, I mean, we have this great mapping tool that you can put in where you're from, what demographics you're interested in, not necessarily your own, and how they get ranked out, so that you're not just saying this is a regional focus here, but again, in all those communities and all those areas, there are similar rankings. I mean, we've tried to remix this in, oh, well, if we just excluded some people, how would it look? It actually surprisingly looks fairly similar. I mean, the positions could change a little bit, but it's substantially overall similar, which also means great promise for our future if we think similarly.
I invite people to go to the website, look through the findings, they're all there, and then decide how they want to get involved and try to get involved. Thank you all very much. Great conversation.
Thank you so much.
We're going to come back and wrap up For the Record right after this.
MG&E, building a community energy company for the future through the power of working together, committed to cleaner, more sustainable energy, driven by innovation, fostered by shared values. Energy2030together.com.
Make it count. Every second, every minute, every hour. Make it count. Every rep, every hit, every run. Make it count. Every victory, every defeat, every lesson. Make it all count. And when it's time to rest, well, make it count. Because tomorrow, you do it all again. The Athlete's Choice Collection with B-Fit technology, exclusively at Denver Mattress.
Dear Coffee, you're fired. Your fancy foam and exotic blends are no match for my cockpit red leather seats and my zippy looks. I've got all the buzz now. Ciao, Camry.
Right now, you can get $1,000 customer cash on a new 2019 Toyota Camry. Find yours at buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Got an old couch? Doesn't fit couch? Welcome to Lovesac, home of the Sactional, the world's most adaptable couch that always fits every room and how you love to live. With hundreds of fabrics that wash right and fit tight, your Sactional can look forever new and change as your life does. A locking system so sturdy, your Sactional is always comfortable and guaranteed for life. Visit Lovesac.com to find your nearest showroom and see why the Lovesac Sactional is the world's most adaptable couch.
MG&E, building a community energy company for the future through the power of working together, committed to cleaner, more sustainable energy, driven by innovation, fostered by shared values. Energy2030together.com.
My thanks to Larry Palm, Sue Springman, and Bishop Harold Rayford, and we invite you to go to GreaterMadisonVision.com to learn more. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on For the Record.